Okay, today we are going to finish up the kites section from yesterday. So go ahead and grab your notes. If you would turn to page 19, um, you might see every hour got to a different point yesterday. So if we have gone further than what I'm getting ready to do, feel free to fast forward. Just to recap though, yesterday we defined a kite. We said that there are two sets of consecutive sides that were congruent, and then we have this big list of properties or theorems that we're going to practice. So we did number one, or we got through most of number one for classes. We said the very first angle we need is 76 degrees. Okay, and I kind of crossed out some angles here because those apply to the next problem. So in order to find angle ABC, that is this angle here, 52 degrees is not going to be the measure of this side of angle B. They are not bisected. Now these sides are bisected here. I can assume that 54 can be chopped in half and so can C. But to get all of angle B, there's a couple things we could do. We could recognize here that I have a 90-degree angle right here. And then I could take half of 54 because that's what these two will be equal to. And if I do that, I get 27. So now I could look at this 90 degrees plus 27 and then take that sum away from 180. So I could do 90 plus 27 and I get 117. And then if I do 180 minus 117, I get 63. And so I get 63 degrees, and I'm going to go ahead and erase that. That's what we had calculated in another hour. Now, that is not necessarily ABC. I want all of this. So I need to take my 63 degrees and add it to 52 from earlier in the process. So I get 115 degrees for my angle. Okay, and then finally FDA. FDA is right here, and I've got 63 filled in because in this isosceles triangle over here on the left, these two base angles are congruent. Okay, so 63 degrees. Okay, moving on to the next question. What I'd like you to do, I know 7th hour we did this yesterday, but we did not get to this in any other hour. So I'd like you to pause the video and try number 2, because number 2 is identical to number 1. It's just you've got different values. Okay, so what I would recommend is I would recommend marking some of these pieces. So I would pause the video right now to give yourself some time to get started. Okay, so when you're solving through this, one thing I always like to add is my right angle here. I'm going to label PQR. PQR, the whole thing here is 78 degrees. TRS here is 59. Now, in my kite, remember that Q and S are the vertex angles. They're not congruent. But R and P are congruent. So we'll come back to that in a minute. I need to find QRT. I want to find this angle. So what I'm going to do is break this up into triangles. Let's see. What else do I know? Okay, I also know, even though Q and S are not congruent, they are bisected. So I can take half of 78, which gives me 39 and 39. So I can do my 39 and 39, and then I can focus on, I'm going to kind of shade, and I can focus on that triangle right there because I know that 90 degrees plus 39 plus something give me 180. So if I do 90 plus 39, I get 129. And then I can take my 129, there's kind of a glare on that. I can take my 129 and subtract that from 180. So that gives me 51 right there, and that is the angle that I wanted to calculate. So 51 degrees for QRT. QPS is all of angle P. Now remember, these two angles are not going to be equal, okay? But I know that 51 and 59 are going to travel over here because this is an isosceles triangle. So now all I have to do is add those together. So 59 plus 51 is 110 degrees. So I have 110 for QPS. And then finally PSR would be angle S. Okay? And so angle S can now be found by focusing on this triangle over here. And I know that 59 plus 59 can be added together and then take that away from that to get 180. So if I do 59 times 2, I get 118. So 180 minus 118, I get 62 degrees. Okay. All right, let's move on to a couple of word problems. All right, number 3. Lucy is framing a kit with wooden dowels. She uses 2 dowels that measure 18 centimeters. So if I look at my picture, here's my two 18 centimeters. 1 dowel that measures 30. So this mark up here is saying that JM is 30. Okay, so we'll come back to that. JM is 30. And 2 dowels that measure 27 centimeters. So here's the other two 27s. To complete the kite, she needs a dowel to place along KL. So we're calculating this length right here, KL. She has a dowel that is 36 centimeters long. About how much wood will she have left after cutting the last dowel? So this is implying that 36 is going to be a little bit too big, so we should get something hopefully less than 36. Okay, so let's mark on our picture some key elements. I know I have a 90 degrees there. I also know that the shorter diagonal is bisected. Okay, so that means that if the whole length is 30, I know that each side is 15. Now remember, the other diagonal does not get chopped in half. So I need to calculate this little section here and then this section down here. And so yesterday I said you will often come back to Pythagorean theorem because you have a right triangle. So let's look at, I'm going to shade this triangle in right here. Okay, so when we look at only this triangle, the two legs, remember, are the A and the B. The hypotenuse is the C. So I can call that A. I'm going to call that 15B, and then my 18 will be C. So you're going to set up Pythagorean theorem. So I'm going to keep A in my problem. 15 I'm going to substitute in place of B, and then C is 18 squared. So when we go through the math, 15 squared is 225. 18 squared is 324. So we need to take away 225.
The following teachers could please report to the front office for a parent-teacher meeting. Mr. Dudley, Mrs. Zuckerbuehler.
Okay, take away 225. So that gives me A squared is equal to 99, and then remember you have to square root both sides. So when I take the square root of 99, I get approximately 9.9. Okay, so that means A is 9.9. I can do the same process down here with this triangle. So I have 15, I have a missing side, and I have 27. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do A squared plus 15 squared, but this time I have to compare it to 27 squared. So I have A squared plus 225 equals 27 squared is 729. So I need to take away 225 from both sides. So A squared is 504, and then you have to square root 504. And so I get A is approximately 22.4. So 22.4. All right, so it says how much wood does she need? So KL is equal to 9.9 plus 22.4. So 9.9 plus 22.4 is 32.3. And I have a dowel that is 36 inches long. So take away, or 36 minus that 32.3, I end up with about 3.7 extra. So about how much wood will she have left? She would have about 3.7 centimeters. So that's my final solution. So it all came back to Pythagorean theorem, and then kind of working through that calculation. Okay, let's wrap it up with this last one. Daryl is going to make a kite by doubling all the measures in the kite. What is the total amount of binding needed to cover the edges of the kite? So the edges would be PQRS, so I'm going around the outside. How many packages of binding must he buy? And I'm going to come back to this later. So if he's going to double the dimensions, I need to multiply all these by 2. So instead of having 16 here, I'm going to cross that out, he has 32. And so 16 here would become 32. 13 is going to become 26, and then 22 is going to become 44. So I need to modify all those to begin with. And then if I need to calculate my outsides, I'm doing Pythagorean theorem again. So in order to get PQ, I need to work with 26 and 32. So I'm going to be doing 26 squared plus 32 squared equals C squared. And then I'm going to run through that and get a value. And that is going to be equivalent to the other side because these two triangles are congruent. Okay, so let's finish that. 26 squared plus 32 squared is 1700. And then I, of course, square root both sides. So I get about 41.2. So there's 41.2, and that's 41.2. I need to do the same thing down here. So I'm going to be doing 32 squared plus 44 squared. Okay, so 32 squared plus 44 squared is 2960. So square root that, and you have about 54.4. So I have 54.4 here, 54.4. So how much is the perimeter, I should say. So let's add these four together. So if I do 41.2 times 2, and then add that to 54.4 times 2. So I need 191.2 inches of binding. One package is 2 yards or 72 inches. So basically, how many sets of 72 inches will go into 191.2? So I want to do a division here. I want to do 191.2 divided by 72, and I get 2.65. I cannot buy part of a package, so I need about 3 packages. Okay, so as far as kites go, it's really important that you come back to Pythagorean theorem, and then as you're working, make sure you have all of these items marked. All right, so now if you would go ahead and move on to the trapezoid video, and we'll finish out this section.